If you have a green card, you're eligible to apply for U.S. citizenship, and you've been telling yourself, I'll do it later. Pause right now, because later is often when filing gets harder, slower, and more stressful. Size. The people who benefit most from good timing are usually not the ones with a secret shortcut. They're the ones who apply while they're eligible, prepared, and not caught in a surge or a system slowdown. In this video, I'm going to explain, news neutral and step by step, why many applicants may want to file sooner rather than waiting, what factors can push naturalization timelines longer, and what you can do today to give your case the best chance of moving smoothly. Curious. I'll also cover what fast really means in the real world, what you can and cannot control, and what habits cause avoidable delays. Quick clarity before we begin. This video is general information, not legal advice. Naturalization timelines vary by location and by case facts. Policies, staffing, and workloads can shift. So I'm going to focus on common processing patterns, common delay triggers, and practical steps that tend to help applicants avoid preventable slowdowns. And one more important point. Nobody can honestly promise that every case will finish in 4 months, 6 months, or any exact timeline. Some cases move quickly, some take longer. Your local field office, background check completion, and your individual history all matter. Welcome back to the channel. If you're already eligible for citizenship, you've already done the hardest part. You became a lawful permanent resident and maintained that status long enough to qualify. The final step, naturalization, can feel straightforward, but it's also the step where many people accidentally delay themselves by waiting for a perfect moment, rushing paperwork, or filing during a high-volume period. The goal today is to help you make a calm, informed decision about timing and preparation. So here's the plan. I'll go through 5 major pressure points that can slow naturalization timelines, and then I'll lay out exactly what you should do depending on where you are. Whether you haven't filed yet, you already filed and you're waiting, or you already interviewed and you're stuck in decision delay. Number 1. The biometrics and verification bottleneck. Every citizenship case involves identity verification and background checks. That's not new. What changes over time is how much volume the system is handling, how quickly appointments can be scheduled, and how many cases get routed into additional review steps. Think of naturalization as a pipeline with several gates. The application intake, biometric scheduling, background checks, interview scheduling, and oath scheduling. If any gate slows down, the entire line behind it slows down too. For example, if biometrics appointments become harder to schedule quickly in your area, you wait longer before your case can move into the next stage. If background checks take longer to clear because of higher volume or system congestion, your interview can be delayed or your decision can be held after the interview. This is also why 2 people with similar cases can have very different timelines. Sometimes it's not about the applicant, it's about the pipeline on that month in that location. And sometimes it isn't about the applicant because certain patterns can trigger extra review. Incomplete address history, inconsistent names, unclear travel records, missing court dispositions, or anything that requires an officer to stop and verify. So what can you do to reduce the risk of the verification bottleneck becoming your personal bottleneck? First, submit a clean application that doesn't create questions the system must pause to answer. Make sure your name matches your documents. If you've ever changed your name, include the proof clearly and consistently. Complete your address and work history without unexplained gaps. If you traveled, list trips carefully and avoid guessing if you can. Use your passport stamps, flight emails, calendars, and records to rebuild your timeline. Second, if your case has any complication at all, prior arrests or citations, immigration violations, long trips outside the United States, unpaid taxes, selective service issues, or anything that could affect good moral character, get qualified legal guidance before filing. Many delays happen because applicants file first, discover a problem later, and then spend months responding to issues that could have been addressed up front. Third, don't confuse speed with rushing. Rushing often creates errors. Errors create RFEs. RFEs create months of delay. The fastest cases are usually the cases that are accurate the first time. Number 2, the surge effect. Whether it's tied to major elections, big news cycles, policy debates, or public anxiety, it is common for citizenship filings to rise in waves. You don't need to take a political position to understand the practical impact. When more people file at the same time, the system gets busier. More applications mean more receipts to process, more biometrics to schedule, more interviews to conduct, and more oath ceremonies to plan. This surge effect is especially important because your processing experience is often local. National average estimates can be misleading. Your timeline is driven by your local field office capacity. If your office is already busy, a surge can push interview calendars out. If ceremonies are backlogged, approvals can wait for the next available ceremony slot. If staff turnover happens, the pace can change quickly. So the practical takeaway is not panic file. The practical takeaway is, if you're eligible now and you were already planning to apply, it can be smart to file before you're part of the surge, not after. People often wait until they feel urgency. But urgency is contagious. When many people feel it at once, the line grows. Filing during a calmer window can reduce the risk that you get stuck behind a sudden volume spike. How do you apply this safely? You do it with preparation. You file when you're eligible, your records are organized, and you can submit accurately. If you file early but sloppy, you lose the benefit. If you file a little later but clean and complete, you may still do well. The best approach is eligible plus prepared plus not rushed. Number 3, policy shifts, compliance updates, and litigation-driven disruption. Immigration processing doesn't happen in isolation. Agencies adjust workflows in response to new guidance, internal priorities, staffing changes, court decisions, and operational updates. Even if a policy issue isn't directly about naturalization, it can still affect resources. Training time, system updates, supervisory review, or reallocation of personnel. This doesn't mean that every lawsuit freezes citizenship. It also doesn't mean every policy debate will slow your case. But it does mean the system can experience periods where procedures are changing, officers are being trained, or priorities shift. During those periods, some categories move slower. The important point for applicants is that waiting increases your exposure to uncertainty. If you file while the process is stable, you're more likely to be handled under the steady version of the workflow. If you wait until the system is adjusting, you're more likely to experience inconsistent processing or longer queues. Again, this isn't a guarantee, it's a risk management point. You can't control when the agency has to adapt. You can control whether your case is already in line. Number 4, paper versus digital friction. Over time, more applications have moved into online systems. In many cases, online filing improves tracking and reduces certain delays tied to mail delivery, scanning, and manual routing. It can also help you receive notices quickly and respond to requests more efficiently when the system allows uploads. Paper filing can still be valid and appropriate for some people, but paper introduces extra points of failure: delayed delivery, missing pages, unreadable copies, or slower transition from physical file to digital workflow. Online filing doesn't make your case approved faster by magic, but it can reduce friction and give you better visibility. If you file online, do it like a professional. Upload readable documents, save the confirmation, download a full PDF copy of your submission. Keep a folder with every document you relied on. Use an email address you check, and make sure your mailing address is correct and stable because notices can still arrive by mail. A huge number of delays come from missed notices, late responses, and address mistakes. If you file on paper, you can still protect yourself. Use tracked mail. Keep copies of everything. Organize the packet clearly. Don't send original irreplaceable documents unless required, and confirm receipt notices promptly. Number 5, interview and oath capacity at local offices. Naturalization is not complete until scheduling happens. In most cases, you need an interview date, and then, if approved, an oath ceremony date. Those schedules depend on staffing, officer availability, and local workloads. Some offices move quickly, some do not. Hiring cycles, training cycles, and operational shifts can all affect how many interviews an office can complete per month. This is why you might hear one person say, I finished in 5 months, and another say, I waited a year. Both can be true. It's not always about who did something right. Sometimes it's simply local capacity. Filing sooner can help by placing you in the queue earlier, before your office becomes more congested or before ceremony capacity tightens. Now, what should you do right now? If you already filed, your job is to stay organized and responsive. Monitor your case through official tools. Read every notice carefully. If you receive a request for evidence, respond fully and on time. Partial responses can cause a second request, and that can add months. If your case goes beyond posted processing times for your office, you can use the official inquiry process. Don't send repeated requests every few days because that usually doesn't help. But do use the tools properly if your case is truly outside the normal window. If you move, update your address correctly and immediately. Address mistakes can cause missed notices, and missed notices can cause closures or long rescheduling delays. Also, keep your travel consistent with what you filed. If your plans change significantly, document them and be ready to explain them accurately. If you already had your interview and you're waiting on a decision, know that delays can happen for different reasons. Sometimes it's routine review, sometimes it's pending background checks, sometimes it's a request for supervisory approval. There are legal options in certain circumstances, but they are not automatic solutions and they are not right for every case. If you're considering legal escalation, speak with a qualified attorney who can review your facts. The right strategy depends on why the delay is happening. If you have not filed yet and you're eligible now, here is the safest, most practical checklist. First, confirm eligibility before you hit submit. Check continuous residence and physical presence. Review your travel history. Confirm you're within the correct filing window. If you have any prior arrests, even if dismissed, get certified court dispositions and get advice. If you owe taxes, address that. If you have selective service issues, don't guess, verify. The goal is to file confidently. Second, prepare your timeline so you don't guess. Address history, employment history, and travel history are the biggest places people make errors. Use records to reconstruct dates. You don't need perfection to the hour, but you do need honesty and consistency. If your dates are sloppy, you can trigger avoidable follow-up questions. Third, handle name changes clearly. If your name changed through marriage, divorce, or court order, include proof. Make sure your IDs and your application tell the same story. Document mismatch is a silent delay factor. Fourth, choose the filing method that reduces your risk. For many people, online filing improves tracking and speed of notice delivery. For others, paper filing is safer because they need more control over packaging, or they have special circumstances. Either way, your priority is accuracy, completeness, and a strong record of what you submitted. Fifth, prepare early for the interview. Don't wait for the notice to study civics or review your own N400. Many applicants slow themselves down because they forget what they wrote, contradict their own timeline, or show up without the right documents. Preparation prevents extra review. Here's the bottom line, stated neutrally. If you are eligible and ready, waiting usually doesn't make the process easier. Waiting often means filing during higher volume, during tighter capacity, or during less predictable periods. Filing while you're prepared may reduce your exposure to those pressures. It's not a guarantee, but it is a practical strategy. If you've been waiting for the perfect time, consider this. The perfect time is rarely a future date. The best time is when you're eligible, your file is clean, and you can submit accurately without rushing. If this was helpful, subscribe for more updates and practical immigration explanations. And in the comments, tell me what's holding you back from filing: eligibility, travel history, taxes, the civics test, or timing, because those questions are exactly what I use to plan the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.